Hi everyone, this is Helloangel.design. Today we are making a dress with a puff sleeve and a pleat at the center front. This dress is half circle skirt. I am going to tell you the measurement that you're going to take when you are making your own skirt. It is easy to make, step-by-step tutorial. This is how mine look. You can see how beautiful that is. You can see the inserted pleat at the center front. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube, like and share this video with your friends and loved ones, and let's get started. First thing that you are going to do, you are going to cut out your fabric. I have already cut out my top dress fabric and the sleeve. I haven't cut out the lining yet, and I've also cut out my skirt. I am going to share details with you how you're going to take a measurement when you are drafting your pattern paper for the half circle skirt. First thing, let me place my top dress on my lining, cut it out, and I will come back here and show you how to cut out your half circle skirt. I have pinned my front top dress on my lining, and I've also done the same thing for the back. When you are cutting the back, you're going to cut 2 pieces. When you're cutting the front, you're going to cut 1 piece. Make sure that you place your fabric on fold and cut it out. I believe a lot of you know how to draft your basic pattern paper. If you don't know how to, I'll put the link on the description box below so that you can watch the video how to draft your basic pattern paper, which I have also shown on my YouTube. What I'm going to do, I'm going to take my scissors and cut it out. The next thing that you are going to do, you are going to cut out your half circle skirt. Before you do that, you are going to take the total measurement of your child waistline. So I take the total measurement of my child waistline and I divide that by 3.14. That will be the waistline of your pattern paper or your skirt. For the length of the skirt, what you are going to do, if your child's length is 24" minus the top dress, the rest of the measurement, that will be the length of your skirt. Make sure to also add seam allowance for the waistline, and you also add seam allowance at the hem. For my half circle skirt, I add about 7 centimeters at the center front. I want the skirt to have a pleat at the front waistline, so I add about 7 centimeters. You can decide to add 7 centimeters, 10 centimeters, that totally depends on you, but for me I add about 7 centimeters when I was cutting out my fabric. That is how I cut out my half circle skirt. And I've also cut out my sleeve. Is a puff sleeve. If you don't know how to cut out your puff sleeve, or if you don't know how to make a pattern paper for your puff sleeve, I will put the link on my description box below so that you can also watch the video on how to draft your pattern paper when you are making a puff sleeve. So this is how I cut out my fabric. Remember to have your invisible zipper or any zipper of your choice for this dress making. That is how I cut out my fabric. Let's put the dress together. What you are going to do, you open your front top dress. This is the front of my top dress. You take the back pieces, you put the both shoulder seam together. Make sure that both front fabric are facing each other. You take your top dress to your sewing machine, you stitch it with your seam allowance. My seam allowance is 1 centimeter. Once you have done that, you take your line. You're going to repeat the same process. Put the both front fabric together like this. Take it to your sewing machine and stitch the shoulder seam with your seam allowance. My seam allowance is 1 centimeter. Once you have done that, you take your sleeve. So this is my sleeve right here, and this is the front of my sleeve. What you are going to do, you just put the both side seam of your sleeve together, take it to your sewing machine and run a straight stitch all the way down. My seam allowance is 1 centimeter. Repeat the same process with the second sleeve. Take it to your overlocker, overlock the raw edges, or use zigzag to overlock the raw edges. have top stitched the shoulder seam of my top dress, and I also repeat the same thing with my lining. This is how it is. The next thing that we have to do, we are going to put the both front fabric together like this. Put them together, take it to your sewing machine. We are going to stitch around the neckline. My seam allowance is 1 centimeter. Once you have done stitching, turn it inside out, take it to an ironing board and give it a good press. The next thing that you have to do, you are going to stitch your sleeve. I have also overlocked the side seam of my sleeve. This is how it is, and I take it to my ironing board. I fold inside 1 centimeter, and then I fold it again 1 centimeter, and I give it a good press, and I repeat the same process with the second sleeve. So what I'm going to do, I will take it to my sewing machine and run a straight stitch all the way around. I am going to leave a gap so that I will be able to put my elastic inside my sleeve. So leave about 2 centimeter or 1 inch, run a straight stitch all the way around, and then you end on the other side. Make sure to also repeat the same process with the second sleeve. Once you have done doing that, the next thing that we have to do, you take your skirt to your overlocker, overlock the center back raw edges. You take the bottom edge of your skirt to your overlocker, also overlock the bottom edge raw edges. I have top stitched the neckline of my top dress. I take it to my ironing board, give it a nice good press. This is how it is. The next thing that we have to do, we are going to stitch the side seam of our top dress. Put them together like this. Take it to your sewing machine and run a straight stitch all the way down. Male fabric facing each other. Put them together and run a straight stitch all the way down. My seam allowance is 1 centimeter. Once you have done that, repeat the same process with your lining. Put them together and run a straight stitch all the way down. Make sure that both front fabric are facing each other. Put them together and run a straight stitch all the way down like this. Once you have done that, take it to an ironing board and give it a good press. I have top stitched the both sides seam together. This is how it is. I take it to my ironing board, give it a good press, and I put the lining and the main fabric together. I top stitch around the both armhole. This is how it is. The next thing that we have to do, we are going to pin our skirt on the top dress. Before you do that, you put your top dress together like this, side seam to side seam, and you notch the center front of your top dress. Also repeat the same thing with the skirt. So what we are going to do, we are going to pin our skirt on our top dress. To do that, you pick the center front of your top dress and also the center front of your skirt. Put them together and secure that with a pin like this. Once you have secured that with a pin, the next thing that you have to do, you pick your top dress. This is the center back and the center back of your skirt. To start pinning from the center back to the center front. I have pinned my skirt around the waistline of my top dress. This is how it is. Once you have done that, you can see the both plate right here. Before you get to the center front, you can see the excess of your fabric. Push it on this other side and secure that with a pin. Once you have done that, take it to your sewing machine and run a straight stitch all the way. Once you have done stitching, take it to your overlocker, overlock the raw. I have top stitched my skirt around the waistline of my dress. This is how it is. This is the plate inside the dress. This is how it looks once you have done that. And I also take it to my overlocker, overlock all the raw edges. This is how it is. The next thing that we have to do, we are going to place our elastic around the upper hand of the sleeve. As you can see, I've already placed my elastic on one side of the sleeve. This is how it is. Before you place your elastic on your sleeve, what you are going to do, you are going to take a measurement of your elastic. The length of my elastic is about 22 centimeters. Before you measure your elastic, please make sure to measure around your child upper hand circumference. So this is my measurement and mine is 22 centimeters. You place your pin. What you are going to do, you just go to your open gap right here. You can see my open gap, and you just place your pin and you continue walking your way through all the way to the other side. I have insert my elastic, and the next thing that you have to do, you remove your pin and then you pick your elastic. Make sure to secure the both elastic with a pin like this. Once you have done securing it with a pin, take it to your sewing machine and run a straight stitch. Make sure to back stitch 2 to. Once you have done that, push the elastic inside and close the open. I have stitched my sleeve around. I push it inside and close the open gap. This is how it is. The next thing for you to do is to place your sleeve inside the armhole and take it to your sewing machine and top stitch. Remember that you are going to gather the sleeve, so when you are gathering the sleeve, make sure you push all the gather to the sleeve head. Pin it all around, take it to your sewing machine and top stitch. My seam allowance is 1 centimeter. Once you have done stitching, take it to your overlocker, overlock the raw edges, or use zigzag to overlock the raw edges. Once you have done that, use the opportunity to stitch your invisible zipper at the center back. Depends on the zipper that you're using. You go ahead and pin your zipper around the center back. Once you have done that, stitch your zipper in place. I have top stitched my sleeve around the armhole. This is how it is once you have done that. And I've also stitched my invisible zipper at the center back of my dress. This is how it is. What you are going to do, you are going to use your lining to cover the waistline raw edges. So what you're going to do, the seam allowance that you use to stitch your skirt on your top dress, the same seam allowance that you will fold inside on your lining. You just fold it inside, you go ahead and pin it all around. Once you have done pinning, take it to your sewing machine and top. Once you have done stitching that, the next thing for you to do is to finish stitching the center back of your dress. Put them together, make sure that both front fabric are facing each other, and stitch it all the way down. Once you have done that, use the opportunity to hem your dress. I have top stitch around the waistline of my dress. This is how it is, and I've also hemmed my dress around. This is how it looks. This is how my dress finally look once you have done making yours. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this video. Follow us on our social media platform, Helloangel.design, and have a wonderful day. Bye.